Welcome, folks, to the podcast. My name is Jesse. Sitting across from me, the founder of Signl Radio, Jay Purcell, himself in the flesh. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Back in the flesh.
Yes. If you know
The virtual flesh.
the virtual flesh for all you fleshy, fishy,
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to think of F words, but I'm going to stop. But you know it's Roots to Grooves if it's Jesse and Jay. So welcome, everybody. We're talking about a cool band out of Los Angeles called Mini Mansions.
Many mansions.
What do you think, Jay? First off the cuff.
Well, I have to first off say I was surprised that one of my favorite musicians is in this band. Mikey. They call him Mikey Two Shoes.
That's your guy?
Bass player from Queens of the Stone Age. I didn't realize he was still playing with Queens of the Stone Age, but he's one member of Many Mansions. But I remember there's this really great Queens of the Stone Age video live from the basement, and Mike is in that performance, and he's just going wild. Like he's just like spitting on the mic and doing like all this crazy.
They
like
get pretty
movements.
wild.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I was always like mesmerized by that performance of him, and also Queen of the Stone Age, my favorite drummer they had at the time, his Joey Castillo.
Nice.
As a unit, those two guys were like tight, like bass and drums kind of thing.
Yeah, that rhythm section hits hard.
But so I didn't know he had other musical projects. So that was the first thing that struck me about Many Mansions.
Yeah.
And then the music, I listened to the albums. It was like 3 full-length albums out, right? Didn't get into the EPs, but they, it's different than Queens of the Stone Age. It's like more loungy, right?
Yeah.
A little laid back, poppy, Beatles vibes a little bit in some of the lyrics, I felt, or
100%.
like kind of throwback retro 60s pop sound from his vocals.
Totally.
all
I
that
think,
stuff.
some almost direct influence
Right.
from, vocal stuff and the musicality
Yeah.
is kind of Beatles influenced. I guess most people are influenced by the Beatles at some point,
Yeah.
but they're really wearing it on their sleeve in a cool way. But yeah, like you said, it's dark psych. Let's just start at the top. We're talking about Mini Mansions, dark psych pop, like loungy.
Yeah.
But
Someone called them cocktail bar rock.
Oh, I think I saw that somewhere. I think I had that in my notes somewhere. That's a great line.
Yeah.
And there is some. I'll pass it up. We'll get in there later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's Michael Schumann,
Yeah.
singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
And he's from Queens of the Stone Age playing bass.
Yeah.
We got Zach Dawes,
Yeah.
and he works with the Last Shadow Puppets.
Yeah, who I haven't heard of really, other
Right,
than the name. But
Right, I've seen the name around as well.
Yeah.
But Last Shadow Puppets.
Yeah.
And then the singer, keyboard player Tyler Parkford is a touring member of the Arctic Monkeys.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we got some big players from cool other bands.
Yeah.
It's almost like a super band type of thing.
Yeah.
Even though all of the players are not like uber famous people, but they're like big players in each of those bands.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. Yeah, Zach Dawes has been playing with the Last. I don't know why I said that again. Never mind. Cut that
Last
out.
Shadow Puppets. Yeah.
Yeah, I already said that.
Yeah.
But I know Schumann and Dawes were childhood pals.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't have a lot of stuff on their early life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, 3 albums out. A lot of good
albums.
like indie pop,
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
People call them like psychedelic pop,
Yeah.
cocktail bar rock.
Yeah.
What else we got on these guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. A slew of EPs as well. They've probably like released more EPs than they have albums in between. Although some of those EPs contain tracks that later appeared on full albums. But the way they talk about their EPs as well, it's like they put just as much effort into the lyrics and the content of those as they do
100%.
albums. And, like I've noticed them in interviews and that. And
Yeah, same with the sequencing. They try to make it like a little album if possible.
yeah.
And they do respect like listening to music as a whole. These guys seem really cool, down to earth. Like they really want to. They say they do music for themselves first,
Right.
and then once it's out there, it's for you to experience.
Yeah.
So I just think this band has a really cool group of people doing really cool things together.
Yeah.
Making something that none of them could make by themselves.
Yeah.
And
just
it's a cool project.
and like just building up their own project from the ground, like by touring and releasing these tracks. And I think the other highlights of maybe some of their stuff is they have opened for larger acts. Like obviously They were open for Queens of the Stone Age on a tour. They've opened for Arctic Monkeys. I'm not sure how Michael Schumann was able to like play in mini mansions and then take a break and then play in Queens of the Stone Age on the same night.
Insane.
That's like a lot of energy, but
yeah, I mean, was he really doing that?
he must have done if they were opening for Queen, or maybe it was before he joined, but I don't think so, because
I think you're right. It's just crazy. I mean, he's up there for, you know, hours. Like how much music you have to have in your head locked in and memorized.
Yeah.
And then, you know, bringing that energy to a live show in front of the audience.
Right.
It's admirable to say the least.
So we'll get into it, but we should play a track now, right?
Let's play a track.
Magic Marker off the Mini Mansions EP.
The first thing they created and released, right?
Yeah, I think so. Magic Marker from Mini Mansions off of their Mini Mansions EP 2009.
I believe so. You're correct.
Crazy, wild track that. Lots of tempo changes.
I mean, right off the bat, the first things that they release, it's experimental and pretty, you know, progressive as far as indie rock goes.
Yeah.
You know, they're not afraid to do tempo changes.
Right.
And, you know, speed it up, slow it down. And it started like a slower kind of ballad type song, and then it got rocking in the end. So very dynamic. And they do these, they're dynamic that way.
Evolution, like not really a boring song structure or conventional song structure.
Yeah.
Kind of like a bit jammy, but structured.
Yeah, very structured jams. And that's one of the things. I'm glad you said that. That's a good way to say it. They're just very cool to do that.
Cool.
So I mean, let's dive into where these guys come from. I don't have a lot, like I said, about their early life.
No,
it didn't seem to come up a lot on the internets.
3-piece, like we said. I was calling him Mikey Two Shoes. I was already giving him a mob name. Mikey Shoes is his nickname, apparently. I don't know where the nickname.
Oh, you just
comes
said
from.
Two Shoes?
I just said Mikey Two Shoes.
He's just saying stuff on here.
Maybe he only has one shoe.
Jay, we're live on the air. These people are listening to us. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not. as we mentioned, they're all like the same age. Zach Dawes, Tyler Packford. They're all born like in '85, thereabouts.
So they're like about 33.
So now they're about 36, 37.
Oh, okay. I was reading an old interview then.
Yeah, probably. And they all grew up in like around California. You said two of them were like childhood buddies, like Michael.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Dawes, Schumann and Dawes. I guess they were childhood friends.
Right.
And then I guess so those two were friends, and then Dawes and Parkford also went to school together. I think high school in Santa Cruz.
Right.
So there was like, you know, they were all kind of in the same childhood scene.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Knocking around North Hollywood and, you know, Encino, California as well. Like all about. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they kind of knew each other pretty early on before like they formed Mini Mansions. So like, all I know is like Michael does most of the interviews. He's like the singer in the band. Right. He also, on the first shows in the first couple of albums, was the drummer as well, right? Like, I read about him saying how the live shows kind of changed because he went from being on the drums to coming out front.
Right.
They got to have a touring drummer now that joined them, plays on some of the records, and they sort of mentioned that a little bit. But like, so I mean, the band Mini Mansions formed, they said, after Queens of the Stone Age took a break from touring.
Right.
Around 2010. And so, I mean, each of these three guys have kind of been session musicians, I guess, or full-time members of other bands, and doing a lot of different things. Like Mikey, Two Shoes. He was only 21 when he joined Queens of the Stone Age.
I mean, it's amazing the history of Queens of the Stone Age, because I feel like they've been around for a long time, but not too long. And I mean, it's been a long time now.
I mean, I first heard about them in late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely been around for a while. I guess
a lot of lineup changes.
As I was coming up into music in my teenage years, they felt like a band who'd been around since the early 90s or even in the 80s or something. And it's cool to find out stuff like that. Like, oh, this is not an old band. They were right there with me growing up, basically. But I mean, he's been in that band for a good while now. But maybe not, but it's just cool that they're really professional and they've done a lot of music. And they've accomplished a lot outside of Mini Mansions.
Yeah.
And now they've come with all this experience.
Yeah.
And attitude and perspective, and they're able to create some really cool stuff, and that's what they've done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think like Mikey, Mr. Two Shoes. Sorry, I'm just gonna
That's our
keep saying
guy.
that, yeah.
That's our guy.
He's someone who's very much into music, vinyl collector, record collector, I think. I do know he said at one point when he was younger, he was like DJ and the music director for a radio station. So he'd listen to like 60 records a week, 60 albums a week, I guess. Like, and he mentioned like that movie Empire Records. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Liv Tyler's in it.
No, it sounds familiar.
It's like a 90s movie. I really like it. I want to rewatch it again.
Not a documentary?
No, it's like a movie, but it's all about like these teenagers that are working in a record shop. And it's around like that kind of a mid 90s. Also, it's that 90s vibe with like indie rock music, great soundtrack and stuff like that. And I think Mini Mansions covered a song that was off that soundtrack later on. But Two Shoes mentioned, sorry, Mikey mentioned it's Delirious. Sorry, it's a Delirious episode.
Everyone knows who we're talking about.
100 degrees in this studio. He about this film, just kind of like that idea of like, it was sort of resonated with similar to his upbringing in California and like going to record stores and finding new artists, and because it's before the internet, and that's kind of what you did. You went to the record store, you would hang out, you would listen to some things on the listening stations kind of thing, and discover
read the back of the album,
all that type of stuff. And that movie was a really good movie for that period. It sort of matched kind of his vibe of, especially in California and all that LA area. It
was very aesthetic.
Yeah. So just wanted to bring that up because that's basically the only thing I know about any of these guys' early lives.
No, but I think they had somewhat musical, households, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kind of speculating.
Yeah.
And that's just a guess, basically. But they obviously all love music, and they fell into it one way or another.
Piano, I think, for a couple of the guys was the first things that they learned.
Okay.
As a lot of musicians do, getting piano lessons and stuff like that. I think for Dawes and Parkford, that was their introduction to music. Yeah.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah.
They say piano is the easiest to pick up, but the most difficult to master.
Really?
I heard somebody say it one time.
Okay, yeah.
What does it mean? I don't know.
What does that mean? Yeah.
You tell us.
I heard Willie Nelson. No, was it Willie? No, I heard Roy Orbison say about the guitar is a great companion because you can take it with you everywhere.
There you go.
So there you go. Can't take a piano with you everywhere.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, you can now, but not, not back in the day.
Now it's changed. Now it's easier to take a little MIDI on the airplane, or
roll out a big
they have the
grand piano thing,
and MIDI. It sounds it's MIDI. It's literally somebody recorded playing a grand piano, recorded into MIDI, and put it into the controller.
Yeah.
It's wild out here these days.
Yeah.
So where are we at? I guess basically they formed their band.
Yeah.
I really I wish I had more information on some of this early stuff. But basically most of the stuff I have is at 2009 when they form.
Right.
Some of their other history is involved in other bands is the thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like we would learn more about these people if we looked into the Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Or, the other bands or whatever, the Lost Prophets, what is it called? The Last Shadow Puppets.
Last Shadow Puppets.
So
and there's a couple of crossovers as well, I've noticed. Zachary Dawes played on Alexander Saviour's debut album. We did a episode on her. That album was produced by Alex Turner. Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys, who we opened up a track with today. Alex Turner features on a Mini Mansions track. And also, is it Zachary that plays live with Arctic Monkeys?
I think that's right.
Yeah. So it's a crazy little world. Also, another crossover, James Lavelle.
Oh, Tyler Parkford tours.
Okay.
So Tyler's the one with Arctic Monkeys touring.
So it's still all crazy interrelated.
No, but totally.
And James Lavelle co-produced the first Queens of the Stone Age album that Mikey appeared on.
This is getting too much. We need one of those boards for like an investigation.
Like the red thread.
Exactly. Yeah, like here's the connection to this. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. We should do a documentary one day. But yeah, it's all interrelated. And James Lavelle from Uncle, we did an episode on Uncle. We did an episode on DJ Shadow. There was the crossover with James Lavelle.
One of our very early episodes. Very good.
Yeah, so it's insane to see this. You know, I don't know if you would call them like. I mean, are they like part of a certain scene? These artists, like
I feel like
Arctic Monkeys, Queens of the Stone Age, Mini Mansions.
I think they're all in there with kind of like the Strokes.
Right.
The Strokes is kind of like the head of the beast, almost a little bit like as far as influence goes, because they came out with some really huge, you know, big tracks and big albums early in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And they kind of, as far as I know, they kind of reignited a lot of the indie stuff that we still see today, like indie pop, but stuff with guitars, and just kind of that rock, you know, like rock and roll, but it's made in kind of an indie and acceptable way to be played on the radio still.
Right.
And I think they were in there with, you know, Queens of the Stone Age, Arctic Monkeys. Like, I mean, Alex Turner in Arctic Monkeys, like one of their songs says, "I just wanted to be one of the Strokes." You know, so like you can see where this influence is coming from. I think there was that kind of a scene.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if Mini Mansions fits in there, but they were born in it and grew out of it.
Yeah, I mean, also they've been there in front of fans, like opening for Arctic Monkeys, as Queens of the Stone Age, and I think they've been asked, like, you know, as they were coming up and starting to play live, and that, do you think people were just coming to see you because one of you was in Stone Age or whatever? And
well, that's a harsh question.
Yeah, and Mikey said, well, you know, obviously that's probably true to start when they first started, but as like they sort of developed their own fans over the years because people have realized that Mini Mansions is its own thing and been checking out their music separately from that. But it comes from like Queen's fans and Arctic Monkeys fans,
but they 100% like they carved out their own niche, and their own little scene. I feel like they really listen to the music. It's original stuff. Yeah, and you can see these influences and stuff. But this band, they're not afraid to be weird. Yeah, they get witty even and funny.
Yeah, and that last track, right? Was there something thing about dinosaurs or something, or pterodactyls, or some crazy lyric?
I missed it. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But they for sure add a little bit of wit and humor in the lyrics. Yeah. And then the music can be a little even quirky sometimes. But they definitely bring it home and make it like sound cool still.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And we'll get into that as we talk about some of these other music. Some of their other music. Yeah. But yeah, the trio officially became Mini Mansions in 2009, released that EP. Then let's get to their first album, Mini Mansions.
Self-titled again.
Self-titled, not too creative as far as the titles go up until this point in their career.
12 songs on this album, though. Some of them appeared on the EP, I think.
I think so.
But
it was Ipecac Records.
There you go.
And so Josh Homie, did some, what do you call it? Producing some of the songs on the album.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So he was, you know, this is some of their first stuff. They're using their friends and buddies in their scene of friends. Yeah. To help get this project off the ground. Yeah. And make it very good. Yeah. So that came out. Oh no, it was Ipecac Records, and it was also Records, which is Josh Homie's own label, I believe. Okay, cool. So very cool. Yeah. And it came out that November 2010, I think. Right. So.
Yeah. It's good. It has a lot of they have these like vignettes, 3 of them in there. They call them vignettes. Some of them are like song length, but the first one,
vignette like an in between.
Yeah, they actually called vignette 1, vignette 2.
Okay, yeah.
The first one, it sounds like an interlude that you hear a lot of.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, interlude. But yeah, there's some good tracks on here. It's lo-fi-ish, right? I think a little bit. It doesn't have the grand production sound that I hear on something like Clockwork from Queens of the Stone Age, like drum sound and all that.
It's definitely more rudimentary.
Yeah, and I think also like because Mikey's playing the drums as well, and he said he never really had a full proper kit. I think he said he had like 4 tom-toms and like a snare drum. I didn't even know if he had a kick drum, like wow, and cymbals and stuff like that. But you can hear it, and I think like later on he talked about how that changed, and we'll talk about that, I guess, as we get to those albums. But
well, we got a track to play off this album, right?
Yeah.
Let's give the listeners a listen and listen along together.
Monk is the name of the track.
It's a good one.
Monk. That is the track from Many Mansions, debut album called Many Mansions. Many Mansions. See what we're talking about?
Many Mansions.
Reach the Grooves with me, Jay, and you, Jesse. Sorry, guys. I'm really delirious today. I don't know why. It's like so hot in the studio.
It was like that other episode where you ate a bunch of mushrooms.
Oh, yeah. The every time we bring up a psychedelic artist, I feel like I have to...
Comes loaded in.
I think someone commented on that episode about our conversation about psychedelics, like, and then I think it was on TikTok or something like that. They gave us the definition that psychedelics is specifically related to drugs and stuff like that. I can't remember where this was written, TikTok or YouTube, but someone wanted to point that out, one of our listeners. So
yeah, this band's a little psychedelic, so I would be fair to eat mushrooms on this episode. But
I mean, I find them more poppy, and I think like Brian Wilson is someone that you mention a lot, and they've actually worked. He's featured on a track on the Great Pretenders album, I think, right?
Yeah. That's the album. You know, stay in tune, everybody, because that's the album I really want to talk about. Okay. And I think this band gets better as they've been going.
Yeah.
So that's one of the cool things I'm excited about Many Mansions for.
Yeah,
but you're right. Yeah, Brian Wilson. I mean, he's a god.
Yeah, and I feel that Many Mansions are a little bit more poppy in the Beach Boys vein.
Sure.
Like with the vocals, not as much, because I know the Beach Boys are very much all about the melodies and the wall of vocals kind of thing, right? But
totally, but they're still hitting the mark, and you can still feel that influence.
Yeah.
And just the grandiosity of the music, you know, like these songs, they're dynamic. I keep saying it, but they're not afraid to put a lot of energy into it, and to change it up. And you know, that's one thing that obviously Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys were quite experimental at times.
Right.
You know, they did some really tight poppy filler music, you could say, and then really progressive, wild stuff.
Right.
You know, and I think that influence just shows up in Many Mansions, and obviously they're paying homage to him by having him on their album, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So very cool, and we'll get into that more when we get to that album. But then that first album's very good. So Many Mansions spent the next 2.5 years working on the second album.
Right. Yeah.
They recorded that at LA's recording studio, Vox Recording Studios.
Yeah.
And that one, I guess. What is this one called? The Great Pretenders.
Yeah.
And that didn't come out till 2015.
Right.
It came out in March.
Yeah.
So this one's really cool. It includes Arctic Monkeys' Alex Turner, Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Dawes played bass on a session for Brian Wilson's 2015 album, No Peer Pressure.
Okay. Have you heard that album? Or
I listened to some of it in the research for this.
How is it, that album?
I mean, I like 60s Brian Wilson, 60s, 70s Brian Wilson. It's
not latest.
Probably not the latest stuff, but it's still good stuff. And if you like Brian Wilson, then I think you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's just, I wouldn't tout that album as something everyone should listen to for no reason.
Okay.
Like, I don't know enough about that album to really give it I'm not reviewing it right now.
Right.
I think there's good stuff on it, and I love Brian Wilson, so I'm biased, and I like it.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
All right. Yeah.
I'll talk about Brian Wilson all day, though.
Sure.
I love that guy. Where are we?
Great Pretenders. Yeah, so you mentioned Electrovox Recording Studios is where they recorded this at. I looked this place up. It opened its doors in 1931.
Oh, wow.
It's like said to be like maybe the oldest private recording studio in the world, but maybe there's one somewhere else that we don't know about.
That's very old.
I mean, and continuous operations since 1931. I don't even know if Abbey Road was around that long.
Yeah, did they even have electricity at that time?
They did, I think, yeah. But yes, I mean, so it's changed hands, I think, and the latest owner, Mike, he was saying about how he expanded the studio but it still has this really like vintage old vibe to it, and they have a lot of this really old vintage equipment in there and stuff as well. So, and there's lots of people that recorded there, but yeah, that must have been like a great, like, you know, environment to record in.
I can imagine it was probably like state of the art at that time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in the 30s, yeah, but I mean, even for mini mansions to record in there now, you know, with access to all the old gear and stuff like that.
100%.
Yeah.
No, to really dive into getting some of those sounds that they try to achieve, that they obviously love and are influenced by.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, so that's a good album.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of good stuff on that one. I like. Did we already play a track off this one?
We opened up with the Alex Turner feature, Vertigo, from this album, The Great Pretenders.
Giving just classic Alex Turner vibes.
Yeah.
And so I did see some people talking about how this album, there is some similarities to Alex Turner and Arctic Monkeys' album, Tranquility-Based Hotel and Casino. And because that album is a very good album. It's a little bit of a different move for kind of a sidestep for Arctic Monkeys. It's a little bit darker. It's kind of got that loungy, sexy, dark vibe. You know, loungy, dark, sexy, musical vibe. I don't know. I'm trying to describe it.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's some similarities between these two albums. And I don't know.
Yeah.
The artist said, Mini Mansion said they weren't really heavily influenced one way or another. Just a coincidence.
Yeah.
But let's play another track off this to give the listeners another feel for this, because I really like Death is a Girl. It's the second track off the album.
Yeah.
And let's dive into that real quick.
Death is a Girl, Mini Mansions, from the album The Great Pretenders. Their second album, which came out, in 2015?
Yeah. What a great jam that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that synth.
Yeah.
Dum, bum, 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 bum. Just how dry it is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I just can't get over it.
Those little touches. It's good how they don't really, because they got a dedicated keyboard player in the band. I've seen them play live. There's this clip of them playing in a massive music festival in France, I think. But he doesn't really, it's like minimal, like his playing, I think, the keys on it, like it's those little flourishes like that, or sometimes it's like a synth string pad that's just like...
It's really reserved, but what he brings to the track is really well done.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not overbearing or anything.
No.
He really goes for what the perfect, like serving the song kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Like whatever's going to make the song sound good and that part sound really good.
Definitely.
With everything else in the context of the rest of the track.
Yeah.
I don't know, very good, but like I think we're starting to see with this album how cool these guys are.
Yeah.
Like I just think they're really good, really experimental, and they're coming out with a lot of really good music.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty original to me. You know, you can hear the influences maybe, but I think they're doing their own thing and it's really good.
I think probably, maybe it's sort of flipped a little bit on this album from between Many Mansions, the self-titled first album, because I feel like there was more of that poppy stuff I was saying earlier, like whereas on this one, they're sort of veering a bit further away from that and maybe like finding their own sound.
I think this album, even though I think I did see a tidbit of anecdotal story time when the band was talking about this album, and they were just talking about how they really care about all the little details, and I think on this album they felt like they were overthinking things even. Yeah,
I actually heard about that as well. They said they did like 20 versions of each track or something like that, like a lot, just maybe too much overthinking it. Yeah.
But you know, from that insular perspective, maybe that's how they feel, but from an outside perspective, these tracks are very well thought out and structured well, and they sound crisp and clean, and they rock.
Yeah.
So I think they did really good.
Yeah.
You know, and I just really like to see artists. It inspires me when I see them try really hard and like put in that work, because we know how much it, as musicians and as our listeners know, like it takes a lot of work to make even just one track.
Yeah.
You know, really, really good structured track where everything is how you want it.
Yeah. And how they fit it in between other things I don't even know either. Like,
they're in other bands and they're doing other stuff.
Because like not only is Mikey performing live with Queens of the Stone Age, he's also part of the recording of those albums as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how the writing really goes for Queens of the Stone Age, whether he co-writes with them as well. I'm not sure. but
I was under the impression it's mostly Josh.
That's what it seems like, I think. Yeah.
But I don't know that much. Josh Homme.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, doing all that stuff, touring with those bands, and then also finding the time to make this solid music that has its own identity is crazy.
Right. Exactly.
And I think, like, we sort of mentioned it earlier. They opened for Arctic Monkeys and Queens of the Stone Age, and they've even called themselves like the greatest support act ever. Like that was their thing, until they started getting their own fans, and now they're doing their own headline tours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of interesting to me. I think one of the themes, or I want to find out more in these episodes, and what we have been doing, is that hard graft of how, sometimes what's the turning point between an artist going from nothing to something, or getting their own fans. And with Many Mansions, it really seems like they focused a lot on the performing and the opening, like getting that opportunity to open for a larger act in a similar genre seems to be another really important thing if you can do that. And for them, I think it seemed like a friend thing or like a network thing. It wasn't like a contrived label thing. It was like, oh, it's natural for Mikey's band to open for Queens of the Stone Age, or and some of those other groups. So it's just interesting to me that, for those of us musicians out there thinking about how we can, progress our music, like, should we be in multiple projects, like double your income from doing multiple tours with different acts and like albums? And
I wouldn't say try to create that, like, oh, I'm gonna join a band and I'm gonna start my own band all at the same time. It's difficult. These guys are very productive.
Things just probably naturally happen for them, right?
I think so. Yeah. Because I think they love music.
Yeah.
And so they're willing to do it. I saw in interviews, like, they were talking about the same type of conversation. Like, you're doing stuff with other bands, you're recording, you're touring, and then you're trying to make this whole thing and continue with it. There's 3 albums out, so they're putting a lot of love into this too. And how do you do it? They're asking. Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing? But I think, and their answer was that they love music and that's what they want to do. They love playing it. Yeah. And they record it so that they can play it and share it. Yeah. And once it's out there, it's for everybody else.
I think, see Mikey talk about a little bit of burnout though. Like, I think they'd written like a Many Mansions album, and then he did a film soundtrack or something as well. Yeah. And a Queen of the Stone Age album.
In like a 2 or 3 year period or something?
Yeah. And he said something along the lines like, that's enough creative output for a couple of years. I'm good now.
I saw that quote. That's a good quote.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. Yeah. But
it's good to take a break. Yeah. Step away from it for a second. Yeah. But obviously he's continuing to be productive. Like you said, I don't really have any notes on that, but he did have a song, a soundtrack on a I can't remember movie
I think it was a movie. I can't remember. It seemed like maybe it was like a Netflix horror slasher horror film or something like that. Okay. Yeah. If it wasn't Mikey, it was one of the guys. One of the guys worked on that.
If you guys know, let us know.
It seemed like a very under the radar movie. I looked at the poster. I was like, I hadn't seen this come up on my recommendations or anything.
I'm not gonna watch it. But anyway, yeah. So cool stuff. Do you have anything else on this album or Alex Turner?
No, not on this. No, not for them. But then
let's move it on.
I do know, like, at the end of when they finished this, there was they considered breaking up, right? Many Mansions.
Oh, so that's they did have that conversation. I think it was earlier on when they were writing this album.
Really?
And they were just kind of talking about, I don't know, burnout a little bit.
Right.
And they were all doing this different projects, so they're all in different parts of the country or the world. Yeah. And they're trying to, they're all working on demos and ideas. Yeah. What do you call it? Long distance. Yeah. And it was just hard. And they were speaking about, should we end this? Yeah. But they decided to not end it, obviously. And the reason was, I think they felt that it was they couldn't make a connection in person. Like, it was just through text messages and long distance stuff. Yeah. And they weren't able to really connect as people, as humans. Yeah. And they recognized that. So they set aside some time to get into a studio all together in the same room. Yeah. And they made music.
Yeah. It's interesting because Mikey said about that there was some animosity that was starting to grow, at least from his point of view, I think, with that lack of contact thing. Like, maybe it was like he felt like he was in a band, but by himself, like he was alone a lot of the time, because like you said, the other two guys were on tour with the two different other bands, and it was just like animosity or something he said. Like,
right.
It's like, aren't you going to respond to me? Are you going to listen to this demo I did? Or
Yeah,
like that?
Almost resentment. Like, you're doing your own thing. How am I supposed to do? Like what? But I think it just is a testament to show like humans need to be together. If you're working on a project together, like it's pretty imperative to be in the same room.
Yeah.
And how much more you can communicate and just be, communicate effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, I guess it eradicates like the whole fucking thing about how sarcasm doesn't work on Twitter,
Oh yeah.
If you read it, like someone meant it to be a sarcastic joke, and then someone else is like, "Oh, we need to cancel this person," or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, if you're in person, because if you're like doing this long distance thing, like a shortcut email or a text that goes unanswered for a couple of days can seem unnecessarily amplified.
Right. Yeah, people just overthink instead of like conversing and figuring out how do you really feel, or what does that mean when you say this.
Yeah.
It's just like you and they were saying this themselves in these interviews I was seeing, like they just get in their head, and everybody does in general. Like you just start thinking about things and making up your own story,
right?
Your own perspective for why this person said that or did this action.
Right.
And then it's just not true.
And it's crazy. It's like, that's you're just running away with things that aren't true. Like, yeah.
And then how much that can affect you to the point where these people who love music and being in this band were like, should we end this band?
Yeah.
They found the answer is connection.
Right.
Like, just let's connect.
Just reconnect. Yeah.
And then they and I think I might have been wrong when I said it was at the beginning of the Great Pretenders album. I think it might have been after, but
it was before, as they were trying to write for the third album.
Yeah, so let me correct myself. I was wrong there, guys, but I caught it, and we're back. But it was the Works Every Time EP.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what they were working on. And so once they got into that studio, those are the songs that came out.
Yeah, that was that EP featured that track Midnight in Tokyo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because also around this time, Mikey he had a bit of a tumultuous, personal life relationship wise. Like, he got engaged. That song Midnight in Tokyo apparently is about that. Like, he went with his girlfriend to Tokyo for like a New Year's Eve, and he proposed on New Year's Eve night. And but they eventually broke up. The engagement was called off. They broke up the relationship, and he said that song is about that. And it also, he finished writing it after the relationship broke up, kind of thing. And so that was sort of going on with that EP, Works Every Time, which then led in to Guy Walks Into a Bar, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this album that he said was more like a love story from beginning to end. Like he said, it wasn't a concept album, but it had a narrative.
Just kind of sequentially. Yeah. Because he was in his personal life having this relationship and subsequent breakup, and as we're looking at it from the outside perspective, and so they were saying this album was basically written in real time as this relationship was like happening, and then as it was breaking up. Over these months. And so the album was written like these songs are happening in real time, like with what's happening as he's going through life. Yeah. Sorry, I hit the mic. Which is cool. Yeah. Because not a lot of people maybe people do make music like that. But sometimes it doesn't come out in such a unified project in a narrative kind of order. Yeah.
Well, I think it seemed like to be a whole like growing period for Mikey, like not just personally, but like musically as well. Because I think he said, it's funny. We see this a lot of different artists where they say, "Oh, this is my most personal thing to date, or my most honest thing to date." So it's another thing Mikey said about this. It's like, because he said before maybe he was like maybe putting on more of the rock star persona, or not thinking about things in the right way, and writing objectively, like in his lyrics and retrospectively or whatever. Whereas this one, he decided to just be completely honest and. Like it was a sort of a therapy as well. He said he was going through this breakup and he just kind of needed to let it all out, and he had to do it through music and through the lyrics, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of a whole encompassing cathartic experience for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, very cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just very cool to see people going through emotions and getting it out through music and sharing that love.
Yeah. So. And He said he feels that like the fans resonate with these songs more live as well. He said it's like a different experience. He said maybe because they feel more of a connection lyrically now with what he's going through and stuff. It's funny. Maybe it's just his own. It seems like that's his own outlook and you know, perception of what's going on, kind of thing. But that seems good because I guess it only deepens his relationship with the fans and with the music that he's creating. You know, so it's like can only be a good thing. But
totally, and yeah, I think you're right. Like that's helping to build a relationship with his audience and fans. Yeah. You know, as you know, he's building his own relationship with himself and with the music.
That reminds me of something that was said on an episode a really long time ago. The duo out of Canada, the Canadian music duo, soul, R&B, was your selection. One of the guys is French, Montreal.
I can't.
Let me go through the list of names. Child. There we go.
Okay.
I just realized I have all of those playlists of all the old songs in Spotify here. I can just see. Oh, it was Child. That's the one.
Oh, good, nice.
He was saying about how he, I think it was him, about doing, like he did the first album, but the second album was like, he wanted to do something completely different, but he realized his fans were just getting to know him, so he needed to be even more honest and vulnerable to get the fans to know him a little bit better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe that happened for Many Mansions on this album. A guy walks into a bar is the name.
Yeah, did we not say that name yet? I'm sorry.
It's kind of a funny title as well, because that's like the beginning of a shitty joke, right?
Right.
Like that. And they knew it. I think they even said they knew it was a joking title on purpose, kind of thing, or something like that.
I think they said it started as a joke,
right?
And then they were like, "Oh, actually, would that be a good name?"
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Actually, that's a good idea."
Yeah. I don't like that title for the album. I'll just say that, but like, because it seems a bit too
pedestrian.
Pedestrian, maybe. Is that the word?
I mean, it seems very casual.
Yeah, just a little bit throwaway, I guess.
Yeah, but I do like, I enjoy the concept of, like, you're gonna tell a joke, a guy walks into a bar, and so I like the concept of it as a setup for the narrative.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get into something here.
Right.
Because when you say a guy walks into a bar, there's a joke.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then I think on one of the interviews they were talking about this, and he made some comment about, like, because the album's about his love life and something what a joke love is,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. So there's a little bit of a concept there.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that name either, but I'm also not a big hater on it.
Right. I mean, the music's good,
I'm apathetic.
Yeah.
But the music is very good, and obviously that's what we're talking about. So this album's really good. It's more open and energetic and accessible than some of their other albums. There's cameos by The Kills, Alison Mosshart.
Yeah, I was going to mention her because she did a great thing with Jack White, The Dead Weather. That's
right, yeah.
That's a really good. The group did two, 3 albums.
Right.
They're really good. Yeah.
I think I've heard one of those.
Yeah.
But that's been a while, so those are good to listen to as well.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to say about this album. I don't know. We haven't played a track off this. Let's play a track off.
Play a track.
Yeah, I think we have one lined up.
We haven't played Bad Things yet, right?
That's the one.
Let's do it.
Feel good.
Bad Things That Make You Feel Good. Tight track, Many Mansions off their album. Guy Walks Into a Bar. That was really good.
Yeah. 2019.
Yeah.
That's a good track.
I guess the other thing to say about this album is that they were joined by a drummer this time. The other 2 albums and all the other EPs, Mikey was doing all the drums on. And as I mentioned earlier, he didn't even have a kick drum. He just had like 4 rack toms, floor toms, and the snare drum and the cymbals.
And he was like using a rack tom as a kick?
Yeah, like the floor tom or something. Yeah, so if you listen to some of those things, you can kind of hear it.
That's cool.
And it has its own vibe to it, but I think, it has its technical limitations as well. And that's something that Mikey said, that they got John Theodore in, who's actually the current drummer with Queens of the Stone Age as well. Got him in to tour live, but he's also playing on this album as well. And they said, you know, he said it just opened up different things because he can do fills now that he couldn't do fills before because he was with his rudimentary, like
just unlimited.
Just like, yeah. So that's kind of changes the sound up, I think, as well, a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I think I remember him talking about something like that. Like, it's interesting to have somebody's different feel, like musical feel, playing on the album.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, different drummers would groove a little bit differently or be pushing or, you know, what's opposite of pushing? Like the beat, the rhythm?
Behind the beat?
Yeah, like behind the beat.
Yeah.
I think there's a better, like, I don't know. There's
push and pull.
Push and pull? What is it, guys?
Salt and Pepper, 90s R&B group. I don't know.
Ketchup and mustard? I don't know. I'm lost.
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter. Yeah, okay. That's
getting hungry now.
Steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. It's almost lunchtime. I haven't eaten today. That's why we're getting all loopy.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically all I got on Guy Walks Into a Bar, and that's basically everything that they've done up until now. So that was like pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what they've been doing. They have one more track released, which I think Kevin Parker remixed, and they released that at least up on Spotify.
Kevin Parker of Tame Impala.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
Only one. Yeah. Called Forgot Your Name. No, that also was 2019.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, as far as I know, that's all they have.
Nothing for a while then.
And yeah, that's basically what I have on Mini Mansions.
Me too, yeah. I think the only other thing I wanted to say is something I thought was interesting that Mikey said about was he said even in a day and age where anyone can release music, he still likes the idea, or he said even when record labels are kind of irrelevant because of that, people can release music. He still likes to have a group of people that are like pushing the music, that care about the music, he said.
Oh, right, like at a record label.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and he was even asked, I saw some interview when he was on tour about what he likes to do on his day off, and he was like, well, he's like, I like to work on my day off. He basically said there's more involved in all of this than just rocking out, is what he said. He didn't go into detail about what that is. Maybe it's some admin stuff. Maybe it's some organizational things.
Yeah, some personal mental stuff.
Like, yeah, he said he likes to be on his own as well, like on his day off. And he likes to have massages because he said he spent 30 years rocking out, doing all these shows that he needs, like, some TLC with all the muscles. And because he does go crazy. Like,
I was going to say, I don't know how much you watched of any of their live footage, but I saw for sure some clips, and they're like arching, like they're moving around with their guitars on stage.
Yeah.
They're pretty energetic.
I saw that. He seems pretty tall. He looks kind of tall. I don't know if he is in real life, but he has his guitar slung really low as well. And I just had a random thought. I was like, that must be like bad for your back. I don't know. Like, to be like,
but there's no way it's good. Yeah.
I know you look like, you know, Mac DeMarco if you have your guitar up here or something like that. Or
what's Rage Against the Machine, Tom Morello. He's like rocking the frick out.
He made it look cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
So do what's comfortable and what's healthy for your body.
It's like ergonomics of guitar playing. Yeah. It's like your office. You got to, like, you know.
Yeah. Like
get your posture
your
right.
laptop stand so it's up here. Is what it should probably get.
Eye level. So you should put your guitar up just underneath your neck.
Like
a banjo.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. It's also rocking outside here at the studios in Seattle. So
we're going to take a break here. And before we record the next episode,
get some fresh air.
Go tell them to quiet down a little bit out there maybe. And that's Mini Mansions, guys. Super cool stuff out of Los Angeles. Dark psych pop.
Cocktail bar rock.
Yes. Cocktail bar rock. It's very good. I'm excited to see what they come out with next.
Yeah.
Just a lot of good original music coming from these guys. Really good art, artistic stuff, good vibes, and they seem like good people with a cool mindset about, you know, mental health and moving through the world and figuring it out and, you know, educating yourself and stuff like that. So that's all I got on Mini Mansions. We have one track to play out with, and I just wanted to preface we're gonna play out with what is it called? Love You.
We have some options. I'm in Love, Gummy Bear.
Okay.
Were the two ones from Guy Walks Into a Bar. Or we could play the Gummy Bear song from Care Bears, which I found earlier.
we were rocking out to that. No, that'll be next week's episode.
Right. Yeah.
The Care Bears, is it?
I think I just I had a brain fart. I typed in Gummy Bear into Spotify, and the first thing that comes up is "I Am a Gummy Bear" by Gummy Bar.
Yeah, that's some weird
kids cartoon. I don't know.
I don't know. It's freaking weird though.
Yeah, that's psychedelic. Kids cartoons and cartoon kids albums.
Yeah,
that's psychedelic.
That's true. Right there. Let's do "Love You" though. Is that what it's called?
I'm in love.
I'm in love.
Yeah.
So let me preface, because I think it's a good representation of the dynamics of this band. This song for me this is one of the kind of quirky parts. Like you can see in the hook and the melody in this song, it's like it sounds almost kind of cheesy and funny.
Okay.
But with the rest of the music in the song, it really rounds it out and makes it a true part of it. And it's, I don't know, I'm not trying to make fun of it or something or talk down about it. I'm impressed by it. Okay. And sometimes for me personally, a song will sound cheesy or like niche or like too quirky for me. I'm like, that's silly and weird. I want my music to sound cool because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's play this track. The hook is really interesting and fun, and it's a really fun, good track.
Okay.
And I think it represents Mini Mansions in a cool way.
Right.
I like Mini Mansions, Jay.
Yeah. We're playing out on this, right? Ending the episode.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's all we got. We are out. Yeah. So thank you guys. If you have any cool info about Mini Mansions or any secrets that you'd like to share with us, comments, concerns, anything at all, hit us up at the email. Jay's got it for us.
Roots to Grooves at signalradio.com. SIGNL radio.com.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signal Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's SIGNL radio.com.